That's all the media and the politicians are ever talking about, the things that separate us. Race, religion, ethnic and national background, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality. Anything you can do, keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank.
People are going to be doing what they always do when the economy tanks. They would be blaming immigrants and poor people.
This country has proven resilient based on the fact that its foundation is the age of reason.
America is just now coming to grips with what unfolded here in the early morning hours here in Orlando.
In this city, thousands of demonstrators marched to protest the death of Eric Garner.
Breaking news, a fresh act of madness. The snipers hit 11 police officers.
Gun sales in this country are spiking in the aftermath of the San Bernardino terror attack.
We're bringing it on ourselves. And that's the thing. Al-Qaeda, all those guys, ISIS, they're not compared to the damage we can do to ourselves on a regular basis.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Age of Reason podcast, episode number 43, where we are not for the faint of thought. So we have done so much work to our website over the last week and a half. So I encourage all you guys, go check that out. If you didn't take us seriously what I said, what I say at the end of every show, for everything else, go to aorpodcast.com. This time I am not kidding. We have filled this thing with so much content. You can listen to our episodes. We added a whole new politics section, and on the 19th for the final debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, we will have the PolitiFact checker up and running, so you can watch that in real time throughout the debate. Other than that, we have added every single televised presidential debate in American history, starting with JFK in 1960 versus Richard Nixon. We've completely reformatted everything. It's really cool. We're really excited about it. Please go check it out. Send us your comments, questions, all that stuff on our Contact Us page. But I just want to plug that. But now it is time for Skeptic Sunday School. What do you got for us today, Alex?
All right. So today we're doing the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. It's one that, you typically... people will bring up when they see evil, or sometimes they'll say, Las Vegas, I guess, my favorite vacation spot is, compared to Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom is where we got the word sodomy. That's where it came from that story.
Mind blown.
Sodom and Gomorrah were, I guess, 2 of 5 cities in a special spot. The story comes in Genesis when it first comes up in the Bible. But basically, Abraham, our good friend Abraham, was told by God that God would spare. He wouldn't destroy Sodom and Gomorrah if he could find 50 reasonable, righteous. You got to be righteous people that live there. And Abraham didn't think he could do it, so he kind of bargained with God. Back then, God was into making deals, I guess, before he destroyed everybody.
Oh, he's like Trump.
So they got it down to 10. If he could find 10 good people, then God wouldn't destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. So he sent 2 men to judge. These 2 men were staying with Lot, who was Abraham's cousin.
Well, no, these 2 men were actually angels, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry, I forgot.
Two male angels. Actually, every picture of an angel I've ever seen, it doesn't have genitalia, so just angels, I guess. Angels with facial hair?
Yeah, in the story it says men. They came as men. So, yeah, they're, I guess, male angels. And the people from Sodom and Gomorrah were so horny and so...
It sounds like Vegas.
Crazed. So crazed that they were trying to break down Lot's house to rape the male angels. So according to the Bible, Lot went outside to meet them. He shut the door behind him and said, "No, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof." So Here we go again, another Christian value moral story, where you have basically a man offering his two virgin daughters to be raped instead of the angels. So I mean, typically you don't hear that all this nasty part when you hear the Sodom and Gomorrah story. They just say Sodom and Gomorrah were two heathen cities, but the actual story, when you get into it, it is pretty gruesome. I guess as they broke into the house to rape, the men didn't take the daughters. They said that was not acceptable. They wanted these angels.
Oh my God!
So as they were breaking in the house,
they grabbed the angels by the pussy. Jesus. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So God ended up blinding them, and taking care of that way nobody got raped. But just the essence of the story is just it just reminds me of so many things where we can just do so much better. Like if we're talking to our kids about morals and all these things, we don't have to teach them that hideous story. I mean, we're in a much more advanced civilization. We can have a better fable or tale that doesn't include the raping of angels or the sacrificing of your daughters to get raped.
I think the main issue with this, I mean, of course, sacrificing your daughters. I mean, I don't see any reason to elaborate on that. It is what it is. It's terrible and it's a horrible story. But what it really shows is the degrading of women that went on in the Bible. I mean, if I had two guys at my house and there was a whole mob outside saying, "Hey, we want your man ass," I'm gonna say, "I'm sorry, dude. I'm not giving you. You gotta go. You gotta go take that shit outside. Something." But I mean, it's completely telling about how religion views women, because let's not forget, this is one of those stories where God was not only involved, but two of his appointed henchmen, angels, were. And not only that, I believe Lot was the only one that actually survived in this whole story, because he went running with his wife, and his wife turned and looked back after he told her not to, and she turned to a pillar of salt. And Lot was the only one that survived. The man, not the wife, not the two daughters, the man is the only one that survived. And what's funny is I had I DJ'd, and Lindsay did a wedding planning for a wedding for two gay friends of ours, and I used to have conversations with one of the husbands about politics and religion on a regular basis, and he is a hardcore Christian, and we talked about Sodom and Gomorrah, and he tried to pass it off as in the reason God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah is because they were inhospitable. They weren't kind to newcomers and to their neighbors and shit like that. And it had nothing to do with gay sex. And my point is what does it matter?
Well, it sounds like it was a double whammy, right? They wanted to rape the men that they met. So
oh, that's terrible. But yeah, there's Sodom and Gomorrah. Jesus, so terrible. Take my daughters, please.
Yeah, and I think I just got the children's book of that. I'm gonna go read it to my kids right now.
I wonder what the children's version of that is. I mean, I don't remember being taught that when I went to church when I was growing up. I don't remember them ever talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. I heard about gays a lot, but they mainly quoted Leviticus, the famous "Man shall not lay with man" quote, rather than Sodom and Gomorrah. But yeah. Anyway,
probably because they probably know how batshit crazy it is. They don't want to have to defend it.
Hey, they still taught me Noah's Ark, and we went over that last week.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Anyway, moving on. What's going on in the world, Alex?
Oh, starting with news, we got an update on the Dakota Access Pipeline. Courts have denied requests to stop construction. So the pre-construction basically is kind of going on. We still have thousands of people protesting, including the Sioux tribe. Reading different reports, I have seen, that there are a lot of people there that are protesting natural gas or fossil fuels more than the tribe is really they're protesting on sacred grounds and sacred rights and stuff, and they want clean water. And there's a lot of people there protesting separately, which is obviously fine, but from what I'm reading, it's they're not all one united group of protesters. You got different kind of groups. One thing that we did see is Amy Goodman, the news. She does a news radio show called Democracy Now.
Yep.
She was actually arrested over, I think, Friday for rioting, inciting
and she's
a riot.
the one that took all the famous footage, the only footage really that came out about this whole the whole protest that was happening.
Yeah, she's been covering this, for a long time, and that's why it felt like they were targeting her. And I was kind of prepared today to kind of go off on a tangent about arresting a news person and charging. Luckily, we got an update on that as well. The judge dismissed the case, said there was not enough evidence to go forward. The DA said we might try to get a different charge instead of getting her on rioting. We might try to get disturbing the peace or something like that. So the DA still wants to charge her with something. Luckily, we had a good judge that said no, there's not enough evidence. But yeah, so look, she has been dismissed. The case has been dismissed.
So we lost one battle and won another. But don't worry, Native Americans, we got a large dick slap coming from somebody very deserving who has punished the Native Americans all the way back, starting in 1492, just to give a hint. So what else we got going
on? So the next thing we have is Amber Pastor. This is horrible. She's charged with the murder of her 6 and 7-year-old children. Yeah. She's when they arrested her, she just did an interview and she said that she killed her daughter first, and then she asked the son, do you want to go with your sister to heaven, or do you want to live like me, tormented on earth? And he said he wanted to die, so she killed him. So this is a case basically where you can't really blame religion. I mean, obviously this woman had some kind of mental problems, I'm assuming, right? I don't
think
really
you'd have to.
Yeah, right. So this is not just a shot. We don't bring this up just to say, like, look what religion does to you. But chances are, if somebody tells you God's speaking to them, this is the kind of stuff that you get.
They're fucking crazy, and it does make sense. I haven't heard anything about her mental stability yet, but I don't remember her name. But the woman who drowned her 5 children in a bathtub years ago, she was mentally unstable too, and she was actually in a very, very strict Christian household with her husband. And the reason that she ended up, the reason she killed her children and went insane was through her experience with postpartum depression. And even at the doctor's request, after she experienced it with her first 2 of 5 children, the husband denied her request to use birth control because that's against God's will. So, I mean, again, yeah, you're right. I'm sure there's some mental issues here. Religion was the avenue, I think. I'm pretty sure if this woman was that insane, she would have found some other reason to do what she did.
Yeah, I mean, still, it's very sad. She also admitted to killing her neighbor the day before. So just insane. But moving on, a little bit of, good news, not compared to what we had last time, but Bernie's still making an impact out there.
Oh yeah, he's in Colorado right now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Nice. So one little tweet caused a drug company, Ariad, to lose $387 million, 15% loss in stock value.
Yoch.
So basically, he just called them out. He said, this company's been raising their prices, and just by the magic of a tweet, people just started dumping the stocks. 15% is a pretty high loss.
That's a big deal.
The largest, yeah. So he's, him and Elizabeth Warren.
Like dynamic duo, man. Those two, I love those two. They're awesome.
Yeah, they keep doing their thing.
We need more politicians like that. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. And then the last thing I got, one of my kind of heroes recently is Elon Musk. He's been doing a lot of great things with Tesla, with Solar City, with SpaceX. So he got into a little Twitter feud with Robert Murray. He's the CEO of the largest coal mining company in the country. Murray basically was, after Tesla gave some kind of speech, Murray said, this guy's gotten $2 billion in government subsidies without being able to turn a profit, basically taking a shot at Tesla. Tesla doesn't receive any direct subsidies. It just sells the carbon tax that it has, which is perfectly legal. It sells those and is able to make money off those. But Elon Musk responded quickly. He said, the real fraud going on is the denial of climate science. As for subsidies, Tesla gets pennies on the dollar compared to coal. How about we both go to zero? So basically taking a shot at the fossil fuel industry, saying, the money we get is small comparison to how much subsidies they get, and they get the direct subsidies. So challenging them to take that away and start from zero. I mean, people like me and you, we talked about subsidies for these profitable companies all the time, and how these billion-dollar companies don't need more subsidies. So it was a good little piece, I thought. And Elon Musk has also recently talked about wanting to populate Mars, which is something we'll have to talk about on a later episode.
He should hook up with Gary Johnson for that before the sun.
Yeah, there we go.
Us. God, that guy's an idiot. Anyway, so moving on to more news here. Mr. Stumpf of Wells Fargo, the CEO, has officially resigned, and without severance. So we were just talking about the dynamic duo between Sanders and Warren. You and I were talking offline yesterday, and we were talking about whether or not we thought something like this would actually happen without Elizabeth Warren doing what she did, and I don't think so. And this is what we mean. We need more politicians that are not afraid to hold those who are causing issues in our economy and those that are being completely greedy just accountable. So bad news is he does get to keep the money that he made from the cross-selling scam. And another update, Vice News investigated this, and they found out that Carrie Tolstead, who was in charge of this program, she was the highest person in charge of this program, in charge of oversight, just beneath Stumpf. And she got her first email about this due to a customer complaint back in 2005. So this has actually been going on quite a bit longer than we thought. So that number that we gave out, it looks like it was 2.2 million accounts that were created, and if it's 8 or 10 per person, that would equate to about 250,000 people. That number may get bigger now that they start looking back all the way to 2005 to see how many more people were affected. So again, mark another win for us. I mean, that's great. Mark a loss for religion here. So the New Creation Church in Hillsboro, Oregon, bans overweight people from their worship team. And I actually they posted their rules to be part of their worship team on their website, and they took it down. But I got a hold of it, and I got an excerpt right here. It says no excess. This is under guidelines to be part of the worship team. There's quite a few things on there, but one of them says no excessive weight. Weight is something that many people have to deal with. Make sure that you are taking care of your temple, exercising and eating properly. So the reason why they said when they were asked why they even put this rule in there is they said that overweight people mess with the flow of not only the show but the movement on the stage of the worship team.
I thought this was an Onion article when you mentioned it the first time.
An onion with too many layers is not allowed on the worship team, apparently. I thought the same thing because it was just, there are a lot of people out there that probably have more weight than they should be carrying, but that's I know I do. That's on them. That's their decision. But there are people out there that are overweight due to medical issues or low metabolism, whatever the case. There are people out there that have weight battling issues, and it's something that they either cannot do or do not have enough time in their day to dedicate to get done. That's not my excuse. I have no excuse, but there are people out there that are like that. So I mean, if you're diabetic, you typically gain more weight, and it's much harder to lose if you're diabetic. So in a way, you're kind of discriminating against medical conditions as well, and that's just the way God made you. It was in his plan for you to get diabetes in the first fucking place. Why are these people getting blamed? That's a bunch of horse shit. It's funny because, they're not supposed to judge and stuff, but on the other hand, it is a little fucked up. Yeah, exactly. But not supposed to judge. That's what most of them do. So next up we got Voisin versus the United States. So the Supreme Court, this is more good news. The Supreme Court rules that convicted domestic abusers cannot buy nor possess firearms. So the Supreme Court just ruled for an appeal that came out of the state of Maine that if you are convicted of domestic violence, you not only get your right to buy firearms pulled from you, you get your current registered firearms pulled from you. So this is going to be another reason for people in states like Arizona and Texas and other places that don't require registration to promote keeping it that way, keeping the gun show loophole and things of that nature.
Yeah, we covered this on the show when it first came out because this was what got Clarence Thomas to speak for the first time.
Yeah, that's right.
10 or 12 years. I think this is a good thing. I think domestic abuse is just one of the spineless things you could do. Whether it's in most cases, obviously men on women, but there are some, women on men abusers. And I think, either way, just the emotional thing that you have with, your partner and all that, when you take that to a physical level, it's horrible. So I think that this is great. And I'm glad the Supreme Court stepped up.
Let me in numbers, let me numerically, let me tell you how great it is. Studies have been done, and a home with domestic violence and firearms is 5 times more likely to produce a murder victim. So, yeah, good, very, very good news. Next up, we got 3 men out of Garden City, Kansas, who are going to remain incarcerated until their hearing on October 1st. The reason they were incarcerated is a result of an 8-month FBI investigation that led to their arrest when they were planning on putting a bunch of explosives in vehicles and parking them around an apartment building that houses about 120 Somali immigrants. They did surveillance on churches and other places with immigrants, and they ultimately chose this apartment building in Garden City. And they are currently awaiting trial. They were denied bail, so their next hearing will be on October 21st. They do all face life in prison for terrorist threats and attempting to possess and make weapons of mass destruction. So, Al-Qaeda again, man. I think we got another Eat the D's hashtag going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, though, that, the terrorism that we are more likely to face is some kind of domestic terrorism like this. And, how close were they? You know, it makes you wonder. You know, to doing something like that, and you know, I mean, 120
They had
people
stockpiled
live
weapons and explosives already. That was in the
there.
report.
So, you know, that shows you, you know, that how close they were.
Well,
and
we know exactly how close they are. They were planning on doing this on November 9th, the day after the
Wow.
election.
Wow.
Or I'm sorry, no, November 8th. I'm sorry, on the day of the election. Scratch that.
on the day of the election. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And you know, shout out. I don't know if I want to shout out to law enforcement, which you know they deserve it, or just the Darwin Award to these guys. I don't know. Do they just put it on Craigslist? Like, we need bombs, grenades. Anybody that can make a bomb, please call me.
I'm so pissed that I don't think they can be sent dildos in prison. Okay, everybody that's listening. Okay, if everybody remembers Al Qaeda, the militia group that held themselves up in Oregon, out in the middle of nowhere, and basically stood their ground. It was part of the Bundy crew. If anybody's listening, send them dildos. And if I hear that dildos got sent to this prison, I'm gonna tear up. So if one dildo gets sent to this prison, we will restart #EatTheDs for the Garden City trio of fuckfaces that are currently incarcerated.
You know, there's a pretty big epidemic of prison rape, so I don't know if
hey, you know
adding
what?
more dildos to that equation is a solution. But weren't they?
Was it really the solution to Al Qaeda either?
Well, I mean, they got pretty upset, but weren't they candy dicks?
No, there were edible dicks and dildos. I remember they even got sent dildos that you can suction
I
cup
know
to the wall.
They had the double donger.
Yeah, they had everything they needed, and if they would have stayed in that fucking little shack and ate D's, they wouldn't have been killed, or at least one or two of them wouldn't have been killed. I don't remember how many of those fucking hillbillies died, but anyway, moving on. So speaking of prison, we have currently. In 12 different states, we have about 24,000 prisoners that are on strike. They're refusing to work, refusing to leave their cells. They're protesting peacefully in any way that they can. We also have a large number of prison guards that are refusing to go to work as well because of the conditions. And the reason these prisoners are protesting, prison's not supposed to be comfortable, but it's supposed to be humane, which means that your facilities aren't falling apart. You're not being served food with maggots, and you don't have broken pipelines that are flowing feces into your cells. So there is a guy currently in Holman Prison in Alabama that was one of the people that orchestrated this mass strike throughout 12 states. And I mean, currently, I mean, you want to talk about one issue that we have, and we'll definitely get into this. We're going to transition into something in our next topic. But they're at 150% capacity in that one prison.
Yeah, I mean, the strike's been going on. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think since the beginning of October.
Yeah.
Right. So it's been going on for a while. It's not really brought up in any kind of news. I've seen on a couple different independent media sites where they mention it, but it's not. I haven't seen on CNN or the nightly news or anything. But this is a huge strike. They're saying this might be the biggest prison strike ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not supposed to be a comfortable place, but at the same time, this is America. We need to have,
higher
proper
standards,
living conditions.
Even for our prisons. And again, we need, we've talked about this quite a few times. We need a prison system, a justice system that is built on rehabilitation, not revenge. Because they interviewed one of the organizers of the strike, and he said, you got some people that are locked up in here for low-level drug offenses, and they're having to live like this. Even points out, we have rapists, we have murderers in here. You may not care about how they're living, but there are people that still haven't lost their human side. But that's not what we're supposed to be sending people to prison for. We should be sending them there to build a human side and hopefully rehabilitate them as they come out. But that leads us into our first discussion topic. So, did you watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, 13th. It's a documentary on Netflix. It is about the 13th Amendment. And man, if you like, I find myself to be pretty well versed in civil rights. I mean, I've studied the 60s inside and out, and a lot of the stuff that went on during the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all these guys. Damn, did I learn some shit that I had no idea about. So one of the points that they bring up in here is that campaign manager Lee Atwater for Ronald Reagan came up with a strategy called the Southern Strategy. And basically what it is they realized that fear sells so well, and they went with the law and order deal where they had to be tough on crime, and this will lead into Bill Clinton's election in first election in 1992. But basically what they do is they sell fear so well and they sell law and order so well that the Democrats ended up having to be tough on crime in order to win elections, because we had quite a few years prior to Bill Clinton being in office where we did not have a Democrat in there. The last Democrat we had was Jimmy Carter. So basically, yeah, this leads into the war on drugs, the Southern Strategy that they're talking about, but it was a lot more racist, racially biased and racially motivated in the way that they discussed how they were going to do the Southern Strategy, and they still hold the South to this day.
Yeah, like you said, it was definitely an eye-opening documentary. Thank you for giving me the heads up on that. It's amazing, you know, when you look at the numbers of people incarcerated, and you know, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're 5% of the population, and we have 25% of the world's incarcerated population. So I mean, that's just insane. And you know, as you said, during the Southern Strategy, you see when it goes year by year, when the jump starts taking, and it's as these law and order candidates start stepping up.
Yeah, I actually have those right here. So we had 357,000 people incarcerated in 1970 under Richard Nixon, just before the war on drugs really took place. Or just, just after the war, he started the war on drugs. We had 513,000 in 1980, 760,000 in 1985, 1.1 million in 90, 2 million in 2000. And of that 2 million at that time, 878,000 were black, which is 43% of that 2 million. And we currently have 2.3 million as of 2015. I mean, it's, you know, and one of the lines that they draw very clearly is how this all started right after slavery was abolished. Right after slavery was abolished, and they write the 13th Amendment, and kind of just like the Second Amendment, where if there was a comma in there around bearing arms, it would be read a lot differently. But basically what they said is it is illegal to enslave somebody for a workforce or anything of that nature unless they are incarcerated. And now, out of our 2.2 million, 43% of them are black.
And yeah, that's the other thing that I didn't mention on the last article, because I was saving it for this one, but with the prison strikes. But I mean, we basically use slave labor for so many products that prisoners are making, and they're getting paid like 13, 15 cents an hour. And you know, this is going on their books for later, but they're working. You know, they're doing a job that somebody on the outside would get paid at least minimum wage for, and they're doing them for profitable companies. I just don't understand how
Target, Victoria's Secret and JCPenney's.
Those were two that I think once it came out that they were using it, they switched off of it. There still are other companies though that are profitable companies. I mean, those are just two examples. Those are profitable companies, right?
Right.
So you have these companies that are making money, and they're using prison slave labor basically. It makes you wonder what the hell is going on. And the documentary does, you know, show the ALEC connections, and how, you know, those bills come out pretty much ready to get the stamp. You know, they're from conservative politicians and people that aren't even in politics.
Corporations and right-wing politicians make up ALEC, which stands for American Legislation Exchange Council. And basically what these guys do is they write laws, and then they send them out to, you know, governors and you know, the legislative branch of Republicans, and basically it's
they're-
fill in the blank.
And they're members. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it's like you give them to their member and say, hey, I need you to go introduce this legislation. Just sign your name on it, or yeah, like you said, write your county in, or whatever the case.
Right.
I thought it was pretty funny the
Yeah.
one example in the video where he says, hey, does this have anything to do with Alec? And the guy goes, no. Why? How dare you question that? And the guy's, well, you left the header for Alec right here on
the
the
Alec
paper that
logo
you
right
passed
on
out.
top of the bill.
So, I mean, if that doesn't show you how fucked up this country is and why we need to get money out of politics.
Right. Well,
You know.
let's talk about how fucked up it can be. Let's talk about Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin, as most of you should know, Trayvon Martin was gunned down by George Zimmerman, who saw a suspicious black teenager walking through his neighborhood wearing a hoodie. And he called the police. The police told him to stay in his car and stay away from Trayvon Martin.
Do not follow.
Do not
I mean,
follow.
it's
And he did not
pretty
listen. He didn't listen. He went after Trayvon Martin anyway. There was a scuffle, and he ended up shooting and killing Trayvon Martin. The way this ties to Alec is that Alec is the writer, that organization, the Stand Your Ground law in Florida, which is what got George Zimmerman exonerated, came from Alec. But this documentary was so much more than that. I mean, it really showed how, Nixon went specifically after white Republicans for their vote through the war on drugs, through beginning to vilify blacks in the media and the way that they portrayed them. And then it just expanded on from there. I mean, under Bill Clinton's presidency, the 1994 federal crime bill provided money to build more prisons and more police, but to also give police incentives for certain deals. Clinton basically, I mean, he's acknowledged his issue, or he acknowledges that he made a wrong decision now, but I mean, it's hard to walk back from that, because I mean, he also promoted he's the one that promoted mandatory minimums, and the 3-strike law in California basically came down from him. And California back then was releasing 4,200 prisoners a month of low-level crimes just to make room for more prisoners because of how much they were arresting people. But as we're sitting here talking about law and order and being tough on crime and all that other shit, all of it should sound pretty familiar. And I know everybody's got the same person in their head, but one last thing about this documentary, Kalief Browder. Kalief Browder this is going to get into confessions and deals and bail. So Kalief Browder, another person that's gone over in this documentary, he was arrested for a low-level crime, given $10,000 bail that he could not pay. He could not afford to pay his bail. So he spent 3 years, 2 of those years in solitary confinement in Rikers Island for not taking the plea deal when he was offered by the DA. He said, no, I didn't commit the crime, the low-level charge that he got. I didn't commit it. I'm not taking a plea deal because I did nothing wrong. So they punished him. 3 years in Rikers Island, 2 of them in solitary confinement. While he's in there, he tries to commit suicide several times. He starts getting in fights, not being rehabilitated, being basically having revenge taken out on you for something that you didn't do because you're not rich, you can't afford to pay your bail. So he, after 3 years of being in there, he goes to trial and he gets acquitted. All of his charges get dropped. The DA's case wasn't strong enough. This kid, he went in there at 18 years old. He spent the first 3 years of his adult life incarcerated for something he did not get convicted for, just to be released for him to take his own life at 22.
Yeah, when I saw that story, it hit me kind of hard. There's nothing specific that relates to me, but I could have seen myself in a situation like that. If you get charged with something you didn't do, I'm not going to take a plea deal. Fuck it, I'll fight it. And it was a sad story, and it happens all the time.
But and that's one of the things that does happen all the time. We get a lot of confessions. We get a lot of people confessing to things they did not commit because they cannot afford to take something to trial. But it's just terrible. But I mean, you compare. I never really thought to look at prison in comparison to slavery the way I do now. Felons can't vote. 30% of the state of Alabama will never be able to vote in their lives.
Yeah, I saw recently there's some states that are trying to fight back against that and giving felons their rights back based on how what their charges were and stuff. But to me, I always thought that was crazy too. I think I was young when I first heard that, and I just maybe it was a family friend or something talking about voting and said I can't vote, and just to me I thought like, wow, you can't vote. That's part of America. That's part of what makes this country great, and because some people may have made a mistake, who knows, 20, 30 years ago, they forfeited that right, and I think that needs to change.
Or didn't make a mistake,
Or it's possible they didn't even exactly.
And I think that's the main thing. I mean, this country is we're built on democracy. Democracy's built on voting, and you're right. When you said, wait a minute, this is America, that's what you. No. I mean, we're not allowing these people to make a positive difference, even for the people outside, if they're not also going to be out of prison one day and to be a part of a society that they have no say in because of something that they did wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to stick up for rapists. I'm not trying to stick up for murderers or whatever the case. But the majority of the people that are in prison are not rapists and murderers. We're talking about drug offenses. We're talking about innocent people that have to plea out. But last statistic on this, 1 in 17 probability a white will go to prison, 1 in 3 for blacks. So I encourage everybody to watch this. It's called 13th. It just came out last week. You can watch it on Netflix, Netflix Instant Stream. Totally recommend it. It was like I said, Alex and I do a lot of research on stuff for this show, and I enjoy learning things that I did not know. And I thought I had a decent, as a white male born in 1986, I thought I had a decent grasp on the civil rights as far as, knowing as much as I possibly can about what happened. And I was proven wrong.
I will comment just real quick, and to your point, right? For you to see this video the way you did and interpret it that way, obviously you get credit for it. But for a lot, let's say the average Republican voter or person, if they see this video, it doesn't all sink in. And I think when we talk about unifying and coming together, I think there has to be some kind of middle ground where they need to admit, yes, there's definitely, some wrong, but it's not you, right? You as a 30-year-old white man, you haven't done anything to oppress these black people personally.
Right.
And I think that's the problem that our generation, the conservatives or the Republicans or the people that feel that way, I think that's the problem is when we say that, hey, look, there's institutional racism, they get the feeling like you're pointing at them saying, look, you're a racist.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's not necessarily the case. The average white person has nothing to do with all this, the stuff that's gone on, years and years before their birth. But I think that's the divide is, when you say that, people think like, wait a minute, that's saying I'm racist. And, most people aren't. So how we bridge that gap is, the next problem.
You got to wonder where that immediate defensiveness or even guilt, I guess, would possibly come from. And it's not like you have to do anything other than treat people equally. Treat white people, treat minorities the same way you would treat white people. That's pretty much it. If the numbers were reversed on whites, I'm pretty sure whites would be pretty fucking pissed off. And it's not about the information. It's not about how surprising it is, how shocking it can be, or how concrete the evidence and facts are. It's all a matter of having your mind open. And I've plugged this documentary so many times, but you and I back in the day have had many arguments over the death penalty. But because I watched a documentary called Paradise Lost with an open mind, that did it for me. And it wasn't I knew innocent people had been killed. And in my head at one time, it was the juice was worth the squeeze, I guess is the way to put it. But it just takes opening up a little bit. That's all it takes is for that stuff to wiggle its way in there. And in regards to, most of these people are, I'm going to say, are Republicans, and I'm going to quote Bill Maher here. A quote that he constantly says is, I'm not going to say every Republican is racist, but if you're racist, you're most likely Republican. Speaking of Bill Maher, did you watch last week?
I have it saved. I still haven't got a chance to watch it yet.
Bernie was on there. I'm going to ruin something for you. Bernie says bullshit. Somebody calls him out on one of his economic views, and guy calls him out, and first he says, "Oh no," and then Mars says bullshit, and he's like, "Yeah, bullshit." I'm like, yes! I was like cheering at my TV. Anyway,
honestly, it's probably depressing, man.
For me it was.
I feel like
good.
When I see him, I saw a little clip from him, I think, on the Bill Maher show, and I just like that voice and the delivery. I'm just like, man, that'd be really great to hear on the debates right now.
I was telling Lindsay how much I missed him when I saw I was watching the local news earlier. That's how I knew he was in Boulder today, and they played a clip from his rally, and I was just like, damn.
Yeah, he was in California this weekend. Just real quick, I will mention that California does have some pretty progressive propositions this year. We do have the opportunity to get rid of the death penalty.
Yeah.
In California. So
here we're voting on euthanasia.
Interesting.
And just so everybody knows, if you're not registered to vote, go to AORpodcast.com. Under the politics tab, you can go to Rock the Vote and register to vote within 5 minutes. Another plug there. Anyway,
nice.
we got to segue up here. So at the end of the 13th documentary, they do something great. They play you footage from the 1960s civil rights movement of protesters being hosed and beaten and hangings and people being carried out on stretchers. And I say carried out on stretchers because over that they are playing speeches from Donald Trump. And that's what I meant earlier about the law and order candidate who's going to be tough on crime. Crime's going to end the first day I'm in office. All that bullshit. It's that's why it sounds familiar. That's why we need to look out for this. So moving on to Donald Trump. So some people have come out to his defense, right? About the whole pussy grab comment. I've seen some of his even female supporters do it. I know Fuckface Jr. did it, and who was the other one? There was one more. There's a few people.
Yeah, the funny one, I guess, was the family values guy, Pat Robertson.
Yes, Pat Robertson, that guy.
His dinosaur ass, saying that Trump was macho and that he was doing it because he was macho. And his son, Fuckface Jr., said that that's an alpha male thing to do. And, we kind of, I would say, beat up the pussy.
Like the Yin Yang twins.
Last week, we talked about it a lot, but it has been funny since we recorded last week. In between then and now, just to hear the different people how they've dealt with it. Either these guys either excuse it away, or some people back away and then come back forward. So yeah, I mean,
but let's be clear. When they say when Pat Robertson says he's a macho man and this is how macho men talk, this is how, or when his son says this is an alpha male and how they talk, before women had fucking rights and we viewed them as property, that's when this would be acceptable conversation. When it's the way society fucking works. Not now. Not when we actually view women and men as equals. Actually, I mean, society-wise, we do not in this world, but in order for us to get there.
I mean, close. Yeah, much closer, right?
We've made progress. Yes, we need to acknowledge that.
Like you're saying, this reminds me of that movie Year One with Jack Black, where he tells them to hit him over the head with a stick. I mean, that's basically, the kind of arrogance that he has there. Just like, I'm just gonna grab him by the pussy, and we've come way further than that.
Bottom line, women aren't fucking property. But moving on, that's not all we have on Donald Trump. Just like every other media fucking place that has to talk about his stupid 3 more weeks. So
actually, well, if you ask him, it's 6 more weeks.
Oh,
I don't
because
know
he's
if you
going to
heard-
contest and all this other shit.
No, you didn't hear what he told his people. I need you to go out there and vote October 28th. I mean November 28th.
He said November 28th. Yes,
Yeah.
please, all you stupid backwoods skeeter loving Cletus motherfuckers, wait till November 28th. You dumb flannel wearing pieces of shit. Basket of deplorable motherfucker. Anyway, so another thing that Trump is doing, and he's being very successful at it, is he's thoroughly dividing this country. So he basically now, and he started this a few weeks ago, but now he's really hitting on it, that the election is rigged. So if Trump loses, it's because Hillary Clinton has the media and the Democrats and the Republicans, because voting is ran at the state fucking level. And if she wins, it's going to be because she cheated. What this is going to do is this is going to divide. Basically, this is going to put a division, a line in the sand with his supporters on one side and everybody else on the other. But listen to him tell you himself.
I've been saying this for a long time. The whole thing we've been going through, and I hate to say it, but the whole thing we're going through, Bernie Sanders, it was a rigged deal. The whole thing is one big fix. It's one big fix. And the only thing I say is hopefully, our patriotic movement will overcome this terrible deception.
Does this not sound like a whiny little fucking baby? I mean, just a goddamn toddler. He can't lose fair and square.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what it is. And you see, I think it's called like moving the goalpost. It's basically you're setting yourself up. He knows what's going to happen. He's fucked himself over. You know, he shot himself in the foot so many times. I don't even know how he's walking. So he knows what's going to happen. But if you do this, he remains relevant. You know, he still has some kind of power. People can still say, "Oh, I still support the Donald. He just got cheated out of it."
Yeah.
No, he's gonna lose, and he's gonna lose bad.
And we have to worry, as we've talked many times on the show, we have to worry about what they're going to do. And honestly, I'm worried about what they're going to do right now, because unfortunately, and I say that truthfully. Unfortunately, just the other day, his Orange County, North Carolina GOP office was firebombed and spray painted on the side of the office was Nazi Republicans leave or else. Luckily, nobody was injured. Hillary Clinton immediately, when she found out, tweeted that she condemns the actions and that they're unacceptable. Trump, however, and I found this out. I wasn't even watching the news. I was like, I wonder what Trump's up to. And I opened up Twitter and I started looking. And I just happened to come across this tweet that animals representing Hillary Clinton committed the bombing because we are winning. So he's putting two things in the heads of his supporters. We are winning because we're going to win so much you're going to be fucking tired of it. We're winning and we're going to lose because this election is rigged. And we've brought it up many times. I don't think we brought it up recently, but I know we've been bringing it up over this past election season, that we have to worry about what happens when Trump loses. And I say we have to worry now because I'm waiting to see if there's an assassination attempt on Hillary Clinton, or if somebody bombs a Democratic campaign office, whatever the case. But listen to this exchange between Mike Pence at one of his rallies and a Trump supporter.
Is this voter fraud? There's a lot of us that are out here saying that we go to vote, we're going to wear red. Our lives depend on this election. Our kids' futures depend on this election. And I will tell you, just for me, and I don't want this to happen, but I will tell you, for me personally, if Hillary Clinton gets in, I'm ready for a revolution because we can't have her in.
Yeah, you don't say
But
that.
I'm just saying it. No, I'm like Trump.
Okay, so Mike Pence plays that down, as I think he should have done. I think Mike Pence did the right thing.
I mean, Mike Pence is trying to be. I mean, he's got a job, right? He's got a day job. He's an elected official, so he can't go off the wire like Trump. And I think he's trying to be the kind of moderate kind of sane voice in the matter, whether it's this or any of other Trump's stupid ideas that he's got to try to defend. It's a pretty tough position, and I mean, you would almost feel bad for him if he wasn't a horrible human being.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting to see how he is going to keep deflecting and downplaying what his boss keeps saying.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like Trump's not getting any support in the media. I mean, but Hannity is still, Jesus Christ, fucking Sean Hannity. Anyway, if you guys want to help us out with some hashtags, clever hashtag we came up with, hashtag hand in the pussy. Capitalize the HANNITY, hand in the pussy with Sean Hannity. But also another hashtag that we started earlier in the election season during the primaries was GOP stands for grabbing on penis, because of the whole "there's no problem, folks, I guarantee you," when the whole his tiny micro fucking fingers were brought up. And we've moved from GOP standing for grabbing on penis to now grabbing on pussy. You know what, if the GOP fucking collapses, Democrats are so close to taking over the Senate right now. They're about 3 or 4 seats away from what the projections are saying. If we collapse one of these two corrupt organizations out of all this, I would say it's all been worth it. But do you got anything else on Donald Trump, or what do you got coming up next?
Yeah, we can move forward. This one, we could almost have put this one in the news instead of a discussion, but WikiLeaks has been just coming out with thousands of emails, mostly I think from John Podesta, Clinton's campaign. Right. I don't think he's the chairman. I think he's up there though, and we still got to go through. There's so many of them, I'll go read through them and stuff, but it's just it's interesting, because they're leaked information, right? It's not like somebody's giving this information outright. So how you treat it, I guess, is different, because it was supposed to be stuff that nobody saw. Right. So I guess, everybody, I don't know, cheats on their taxes or does something where it's like, okay, nobody's going to see this. This is just
right. But I mean, we can't give them. I understand what you're saying. There's a little bit more of a aura of security around you when you're trying to do something like that. But we have to hold her to the we have to hold her campaign and the DNC to the same standard that we just hold Trump's grabbing on pussy remark, because I don't even think Trump knew that his mic was. He's had so many fucking issues with microphones. He threatened to fire a mic guy during one of his rallies during the primary season. Anyway, he's had so many fucking mic issues. But, we have to hold them to the same standard as Hillary Clinton. Here's my issue. I respect Edward Snowden. I respect Julian Assange for what they do, and WikiLeaks for what they do. But I'm going to be dead honest here. My first instinct is WikiLeaks, shut the fuck up for 3 weeks. November 9th, open season on Hillary fucking Clinton. But if we want to solve corruption in our world, we need a world that's corrupted to solve it. Not one that's going to be exploded in a nuclear fucking war or everything else that's going to be set back if Donald Trump gets elected. And the main issue that I have is you guys are putting all your fucking time and energy into hacking the DNC, which we already know is corrupt. Thanks for confirming that. Every Bernie or Buster and Bernie supporter of all shapes and sizes knows the DNC's corrupt. But as they keep releasing these fucking emails with the election right around the goddamn corner, if Trump wasn't grabbing fucking pussy and bragging about it in 2005 and having to come up now, this could be a very big problem for our entire fucking world. They need to either shut the fuck up or show some love to Donald Trump. Put your goddamn energy into hacking his fucking tax returns.
No, so I mean, I agree, I guess, with the majority, but at the same time, if this never would have happened, it never would have came up. So So I mean, it's just we'll continue to update as we read more of the emails and see the different stuff. But it is, I mean, huge amounts of emails are getting released at once. So
yeah, honestly, that's my opinion on WikiLeaks. I just fucking wait till the 9th. day after we get that goddamn woman in office, we can open season on her. But anyway, I think we're about over, so we got to move on.
Now it's time for AOR's The 5 Giant Dicks of History. And that's going where?
So this week we're going to be talking about Christopher Columbus. Now, we told you guys we're going to bring you people that you, if they're famous, you didn't know that they were corrupt as hell or whatever. And everybody kind of knows that Christopher Columbus wasn't the great person that we were all taught in school that he was. But just to make sure with Columbus, we just passed Columbus Day, and just to make sure everybody truly understands the gravity of how terrible Christopher Columbus actually was and what snowflake he planted that created a major snowball effect is Columbus slaughtered so many Native Americans through massacres and the spread of disease. It is the largest genocide. It turned into the largest genocide through what Christopher Columbus started and through colonization of from Europe over to North America. Largest genocide in history. Only 1 in 20 Native Americans survived the colonization period from Europe. Natives that were enslaved natives were enslaved and worked in crop fields and mines. Most of them, large portions, died off and from overwork, from basically working conditions and starving and basically use your imagination. Alex, you want to take a guess what happened when the large, 1 in 20 survived and we lost 95% of indigenous people? You want to guess what the Europeans that were here did next?
Rounded them up?
Well, no. They didn't have any more to round up. Where do you think they went after that? Africa.
Oh.
This is really the start of the African slave trade. So they brought over, they started shipping in Africans from over the ocean to replace the large amounts of indigenous Native Americans that were dying off, again, through massacre, spread of disease, and working conditions from being enslaved, working crops and fields and mines. But it doesn't just stop with Christopher Columbus. I found some religion to throw in here too. So Dum Diversus, which is Latin for a papal bull, which put into today's terms is a document from the Pope that was published in 1452, instructed colonialists to, here's the quote, invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all enemies of Christ wherever placed, and to try to reduce the persons to perpetual slaves, given by the Catholic Church, as if we didn't already know that the Bible condones slavery. Lastly, there's been quite a bit of talk about changing the Columbus Day to something else. Well, the United Nations, back in 1994, declared International Day for World's Indigenous People. This is a quote from the UN. The historical abuses, discrimination, and marginalization suffered by indigenous peoples, the UN highlighted their continued struggle for equality and respect for their rights as people and individuals needs to be honored. So maybe we should start campaigning for Indigenous People Day on August 9th instead of murdering Christopher Columbus. So there you go, everybody. Christopher Columbus, as you already knew, was a bit of a dick, but now he is a giant dick of history. And with that, follow us on Twitter at AOR_podcast, the Age of Reason podcast page on Facebook. And once again, we completely redid our website. So I mean it, for everything else, politics, religion, our blog, whatever, send us your questions, your comments. We will answer them here on the show. All of that at AORpodcast.com. See you guys next week.